Okay, um, let's see if we can just waiting to see if anyone shows up for this. Um Let me just test the chat, make sure it's working. Okay, testing. All right. Just giving a minute to see if anyone shows up for this. Testing. Okay. Um uh just see, that's set. That's it. That's it. Just waiting for anyone to show up right now. Okay, we got one person. I guess we can go and get started. So, welcome to another set of watch alongs I planned for today. And as you can tell, next up we'll be covering the second animated film by Disney Animation Studios. That, of course, being 1940's Pinocchio, another one that was a smash hit. In fact, I think this one may have been a bigger hit than Snow White. I don't remember which one was the bigger hit, but yeah, for me, this is one of another one of my personal favorite of the Disney classics. A film I've always enjoyed, and a film that apparently traumatized a lot of people as kids. But anyway, I guess we'll just go ahead and get things started. So, well, hold on a second. Let me let's see. But yeah, I got this. This is the copy I own right here. So, if like I said before, oh, you're here. Okay. Hey, Anthony, glad to see you back. So, if you don't have a physical copy of this film, of course, you'll have to watch it on Disney Plus. Let's see, just trying to get this set up. Of course, the screen I have. Well, okay, I guess you can't see it, but it's the RKO radio pictures logo that's showing. So just to give you an idea where I'm at. Pausing. So let's see. Okay, I guess we'll go and get started then. We have at least one person here. Hopefully more will show up. So let us begin in three, two, one, go. So yes. And of course this is another Disney classic that got the remake treatment, and from what I understand, it was really bad. Although to be fair, 2022 was a really weird year for Pinocchio. When you wish upon a star. Such an iconic song. That's eventually would become the studio's national anthem. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for coming on. Um, like I said, if you're not able to make all these Disney live streams, that's fine. I mean, real life can be busy. I don't plan to do these every single day, just on days when I have free time. And like I said, my job is not giving me enough hours right now, and I don't know why. It's frustrating, but because 3 days a week with only 12 to 16 hours is not cutting it. So it's ridiculous, but hopefully things will change soon. But yeah, yeah, the plan for today is to do this, and then after this, do the next David Lynch film, which will be The Elephant Man, which I think people will like that one more than Eraserhead. I would think it's more accessible. And after that will be the next 4 episodes of Avatar and the next episode of Chernobyl. So hopefully I'll stay awake. Yeah, that's true. It also depends if I'm a certain time. So, but like I said, I mean, if you can't make the streams, you could always watch the videos when they're contained. Yeah, as I mentioned, the Snow White stream, you can actually see the book with Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan on them. I guess foreshadowing what their films will be. Of course, again, they were originally meant to come out in the 40s, but then a certain war broke out. So But I was just saying, if you can't make the streams, you can always leave a comment in the videos themselves when they get uploaded. I'm gonna be honest. I don't understand why some people don't like Jiminy Cricket. I always thought he was a fine character. I mean, I could see why he's become one of the Disney icons. I mean, he would get his own series of shorts. The I'm no fool, no siree, whatever they were called. It was, if anyone remembers those shorts. I guess one thing this movie does improve on from Snow White is the camera angles, or at least the way it shifts, showing the landscape and showing the town like it just did. Yeah, I know Figaro had his own cartoons. I believe Figaro was like Walt's favorite character in this movie for some reason. I mean, I guess that explains why he got his own series of cartoons, mostly being Minnie's pet. So yeah, you might end up in a fishing shop and become fish bait. They say the reason why they made Jiminy the way he did is because even though he's supposed to be a cricket, even though he doesn't really look like a cricket, I guess they thought make him look like a cricket, he wouldn't be as appealing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people seem to like Cricket from Mulan fine enough, but who knows? That'd be much later down the line. Yeah, yeah, funny. So, yeah, that is true. He does go in the ocean. You're literal fish bait, and you go in the ocean. It's I never read the original Pinocchio story. All I know is the original story was way more messed up and dark than the Disney film, and the Disney film is already really dark. But I know some adaptations, like I know both the Disney remake and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio do that thing where Geppetto made Pinocchio as like an image of his deceased son, something like that. Granted, Guillermo del Toro's version does it way better than the Disney remake, but yeah, I have heard that the actor who voiced Geppetto was like a supporter of Adolf, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on the stream, but but now from what I understand, he wasn't. Oh, it was back around because this would have taken place before people were aware of how bad things really were. They didn't know about the camps or anything. I mean, it's kind of like what happened when Charlie Chaplin made the Great Dictator, or when the Three Stooges did their own parody of those bad guys. But they weren't aware of the camps, and when they did find out, they admit they regretted making those stuff, even though they were just meant to be parodies of the said events. So Yeah, Figaro doesn't know what's going on. Cleo being flirtatious as usual. Yeah, I did see that. Even though I haven't seen the remake, I've seen enough people review the movie, like Steve reviews and um MJ Tanner, I think, reviewed it too. And yeah, they apparently the clocks just had iconic Disney characters, which was just weird. I mean, that's not really how you're supposed to do cameos or Easter eggs. Like to put them, they're supposed to be like in the hidden in the background and not like in the forefront. Also, I just remember that Pharaoh and Cleo both like terrifying in the remake. Like Cleo, they try to do the same thing she does in this version, but it looks less charming and more like Shark Tale, I guess. Yeah, he's as needy as a real kitten. And I know I have two cats, and they're very needy. Honestly, one of my cats kind of even looks like Figaro. Maybe has more black than white on their fur, but you know. I mean, you have to admit, a lot of these clocks are pretty creative. I mean, for being made of wood and all that. I mean, I guess that's how a lot of clocks were back then. I mean, okay, that is kind of funny. You have all those clocks. You need to pull out your little pocket watch to know what time it is. It's. I mean, I don't know if his eyesight's going that bad or what, but Pinocchio, Chris Pine, whatever the remake did. Oh gosh, so stupid. Are you talking about the clock with the mother spanking the child? If I remember correctly, in the remake, that clock is in the remake, but they add in the cop to prevent the mother from spanking him. Or there's the cop with the drunk, I guess. But yes, you sure about that, Jiminy? Well, okay, solid comfort. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay, Figaro, kind of a heavy purr, aren't you? It's kind of cute that he gave Figaro his own bed. Although real cats aren't usually that content. Usually they'll just want to sleep with their owner. But Oh, yeah, sure. Have your kitten do the work. Just yeah, I heard in the radio Geppetto does me. Yeah, I think I remember hearing something like that. The star that would also become iconic for Disney to the point where they apparently have to make a whole movie around it. A movie that a lot of people would be very mixed to negative towards. That has to be a huge pillow that he's laying on. Jeez. I mean, my pillows are just this big, so like, what? Okay. It is interesting that these early Disney films, while they are still being movies, there are moments like this that feels like something you'd see in one of their silly symphony shorts. I mean, I guess from a cricket's perspective, a lot of this would be noisy. Well, in comes the blue fairy. Why'd you say it like that, Jiminy? Okay, so in this version, they do made that point that he was made of pine, so it's just in the remake they made it sound really stupid. What can who do? What fairies? Show the world today, Jiminy. Give it another 80 years, and you'll see why. All right, Jiminy, control yourself. All right, I don't think she's into bugs. Yeah, she only partly granted the wish. Like, yeah, you're alive, but you're technically not a real boy yet. So, because he has to learn, what it means to be a real boy. About okay, being really needy there, Jiminy. Sorry, she said the line. And yeah, that's something I understand the remake really butchered is how Pinocchio already knows right and wrong, so it kind of makes his growth pointless. But then again, they kind of did something similar to Peter Pan in his remake. I mean, where he's not the mischievous rapscallion he was in the original. Yeah, find out the three fairies as we do more. Yeah, that's the thing. Of all these mystical, like, you know feminine, like, you know wise characters, the blue fairy ends up doing the least amount. Is that a peace pipe on a camel? Did Geppetto predict the camel cigarettes that would come out later? Honestly, I forgot how horny Jiminy was in the original. Like, every time he sees a beautiful woman, he just can't help but feel. I love this. Geppetto just happens to have a gun under his pillow. Like, it kind of makes you wonder how many times his place has been robbed if he had to have that. I guess his clocks do sell quite a bit of money if that's the case. I mean, Well, yeah, you're dreaming in sleep, but do you dream when you're awake? Well, I guess you can technically, but okay. You seem to be taking this awful well when you think about it. I mean, yeah, first where we get real kids watching, no voice. Yeah, yeah, it's very common that adults voice kids. So this is one of those rare times where a child voices a child, and he does a pretty solid job. Yeah, didn't the actor who voiced Pinocchio die not that long ago? Or at least I guess it was a while ago now. But again, Gemini, like control yourself, buddy. I guess he's not able to feel pain if he can touch fire so easily like that. Okay, so it was a while ago. Yeah, 2014. So yeah, to suffocate your fish, why don't you, Geppetto? He was the last. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. He would be the last of the cast to pass away. It's hard to believe with movies that are this old that everyone involved with the film is dead or likely dead. It's like kind of a time capsule that you're looking at. I don't know. The way school is nowadays, it's debatable whether people get smart or just get dumber. Honestly, with my experience in school, I feel like I've had a better time understanding certain subject matters from the shows I watched or the games I played. Like, I think I had a better time understanding history and geography just from playing Carmen San Diego. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Alice and Wendy's actress might be the only one left alive from Walter. Um, I have to look. I'll look that up to see if that's true. But that would be crazy if that's the case. I mean, but yeah, like I said earlier, I think this film does improve on Snow White from a technical perspective. Like you tell from the camera, the way it pans from the city and then seeing people move around. It's yeah, this part always bugged me. Why doesn't Geppetto just go with Pinocchio to school and make sure he gets there safely? I mean, they do this in the remake too, and granted, Pinocchio actually goes to school, and they kick him out because he's a wooden puppet. Well, at least Figaro was willing to go with him, make sure he At least Figaro's willing to go with Pinocchio to school to see if he makes it out okay. She's still alive in 87. Wow, I guess she was pretty young when. Because I mean, both Alice 1 and Peter Pan were in the 50s, so I mean, yeah. And enter our first villains of the movie: Honest John and Gideon. Probably my favorite villains of this movie. Right, and when she was 12, 13, 14. She was them. Yeah, okay. So obviously she was in her early teens when she voiced those characters. I know this is meant to be like a fairy tale that doesn't apply to much logic, but like, it's so funny that they're surprised by a wooden boy, but this is a world where an anthropomorphic fox and a cat are in the same. Hold on.
Make every wash count.
Hate when that happens. Jeez. Okay. Let's see. Hold on a second. Sorry. Also, why is my time? Okay. Hold on a second. Sorry, my timer is acting up here. I really got to figure out how to put the timer on my screen and not have to do this because this is ridiculous. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, well, close enough. Why is there even ads to a timer like that? That makes no sense. I guess I was saying it's just funny that you're surprised by a wooden boy, and yet you're an anthropomorphic fox and a cat. But there's also real cats like Figaro. I guess it's just one of those worlds. I could use the clock on my phone here, but the problem is, what if I get a call from someone while it's playing? No, I could. I guess I could get a stopwatch. I don't know, but I'm just trying to show something like that shows. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, John, that if you want to join the theater, you still have to go to school. I mean, I don't know how it was back then, but I'm sure you have to have some form of education if you want to take on a job like the theater. Yeah, I guess this is technically the first villain song, the High Diddly D, because yeah, because the Evil Queen didn't have a villain song, so technically this is the first villain song, at least by the Disney Animation Studio films. Like, so yeah, not my personal favorite, but it's got a catchy ring to it. An actor's life is gay. Yeah, of course, it was back when that term had a different meaning. Which, I mean, I guess it technically still means happy, but you know, it was a different time back then. Yeah, I guess Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf it can count as a villain song, even though it's not sung by the villain. It's about a villain, so it's kind of like the Cruella de Vil song. It's not sung by the villain, but it's sung, about the villain. Yeah, I heard Gal Gadot sings in the remake. I love how violent of a little turd Gideon is. Like, like your first response when you see something suspicious, you just want to hit them with that giant hammer. Yeah, I heard the Coachman gets a villain on too. Yeah, don't know, don't know the way they hired what's his name, Luke Evans to play the Coachman. He looks nothing like the guy. But then again, some of the characters in the remake didn't look much like their animated counterparts. Well, you gave him a concussion. Again, why don't you just get his father? It'd be probably the better option. What can you do? And enter Stromboli. Looks like a sellout. I mean, just wait till the remake comes out. Yes, I have seen Age of Ultron. I know they reused this song in that movie, which is kind of funny, I have to admit. Even though the movie itself was just kind of average, I thought. I mean, Ultron was cool, but the movie itself I thought was just kind of okay. Although it's interesting that this movie is meant to be Italy, I guess, because I know the story was Italy, so I'm assuming this is Italy. And yes, Stromboli is the only one with the Italian accent in this story, I guess. Yeah, the coachman's British. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, Stromboli and the coachman were voiced by the same actor, which does make a lot of sense. I mean, one thing I do like about this film and I appreciate, and you don't see Disney doing this now, is how none of the villains get defeated at all. They just continue to do their heinous acts. So, which is a good moral to teach, as they're all meant to represent like temptation. So, even if Pinocchio might be a real boy at the end of this, he still have to continue to fight temptation for the rest of his life. So, like we all do. He is no Russian. I'm pretty sure even actors need conscience too, Jiminy. So, meanwhile, with Geppetto, yeah, I know Stromboli gets the rest of the remake. The thing with Monstro is that I don't really count him as a villain per se. I mean, yeah, maybe an antagonistic force, but the only reason he attacks them is because they burn the inside of his mouth. He's just being an animal, just And yes, I know in the remake. Well, first of all, in the remake, Monstro's not even a whale. He's like some sea monster. But I know they give him an evil laugh in the remake, which is stupid. I don't know. It'd be like if they made a live action remake of The Lamb for Time and they give Sharptooth an evil laugh. Don't give them any ideas. They might do that. Okay, I have heard that the Disney the remake trying to make Monster more like the book than this film, but the thing is, you're trying to remake the Disney animated film and not the original book. So I don't know. It's still weird. Like, what's the point of giving monsters tentacles if you're not gonna have them do anything with them? So basically, Stromboli is a child trafficker. Yeah, well, that's the thing with the Disney remakes. They either want to be the exact same to the point where it's why even bother making them if you're just doing the same thing, or they're too different to the point where why even adapt this at all? I mean, granted, I would rather them be different because at least then they stand on their own and not have to rely too much on the original. But even then, just because it's different doesn't mean it's good. I mean, like if they wanted the Alice in Wonderland remake to be like, say, American McGee's Alice, where it's a darker take on the story, it should have just stuck to try to take advantage of that. But I don't know. It's who knows if I decide to do watch-alongs of the remakes in the future, we'll go more into that. But of course, that's later on down the line. That's not exactly something I'm completely looking forward to. But can't just do watch-alongs of good movies. I mean, where's the fun in that? I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like there needs to be a middle ground. Like, if you're gonna remake any, like, here's my problem. If you're gonna, it's that they want to remake the more iconic, most beloved films like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, which there's no reason really to, or like what DreamWorks recently did with the How to Train Your Dragon remake. How it's, from what I understand, it's 99% the same film. Like, what's the point of remaking a movie that's highly acclaimed? It's like if you try to remake The Godfather. Like, what's the point of that? It's a movie that you have really high expectations that almost impossible to meet. Like, I feel like if you're gonna remake any movie, for example, I thought a remake of Jurassic Park, for example, could work if you made it more loyal and faithful to the original book. That way, you at least have two different versions of the story. Maybe if they did the same thing with How to Train Your Dragon, make it more loyal to the book, so you would have at least two versions. At least they would be different. I mean, it's kind of like when John Carpenter remade The Thing. Like, yes, it's different from The Thing from Another World, but they still keep the same themes and ideas, just a different creature. So, oh, the dramatic irony, Geppetto. If only you knew that Pinocchio was in that coach. The Drew Carey version of what? Pinocchio or some other movie? I mean, I know there's a. It's called Geppetto, and it came out 2000. I think I have heard of that movie. I mean, I haven't seen it. I know there's been several Pinocchio films. I know YMS did quite a few watch-alongs of them. He did a watch-along of this one. He did a watch. He did see the remake. He saw Guillermo del Toro. I know there was the one with what's his name? The actor from Life is Beautiful. I know was in two Pinocchio films. He was Pinocchio himself in one, and he was Geppetto in another. Where did the birds come from? They just yeah. The way this film presents why it's not good to lie, it is a good thing to teach kids a good visual representation. Something that again the remake failed at because it shows that lying can get you out of situations. I mean, sure, Guillermo del Toro's version kind of did something similar to the remake, where they had Pinocchio lying get them out of a situation, but in there it's a little different because Geppetto does tell him just this once, because showing that like they're still acknowledging that lying is bad, but in that situation, it did get him out of that debacle. Red Lobster Inn. So they had Red Lobster back then. Yeah, Sir Blue was never seen again. I guess we're just left to assume that his puppet theater doesn't go as well as he hoped, and he lost his big attraction. I'm assuming those are $half or whatever the currency they have over in Italy, because those coins must be huge compared to the ones in John's little bag. I forgot how much human traffic or child trafficking there is in this movie because that's basically what it is. That's something you won't see in most modern Disney films. Now there's your face right there. Yeah, I guess the Coachman and Facilier would get along to like money, but I mean the Coachman loves trafficking kids, and Facilier likes trafficking souls for his friends. So mean, actors can be smart too. Pinocchio. I mean, I don't know. And Honest John just materialized out of nowhere. Yeah, I guess they do that too. I mean, which one thing I've always wondered in this film is how is the coachman able to turn the kids into donkeys? Like, what kind of magic pact did he make? I can see why people, when they talk about villains, that's even though we're not supposed to like them, they're almost impossible to hate. Honest John is kind of one of them. And it's probably why he and Gideon are like the most popular villains from this movie. Why they would get reused in like some of their other material, like their comics or anything like that. I mean, I never read any of the classic Disney comics, but it'd be pretty cool to find them if you can. I just mostly know about him because I've seen that one YouTuber Colin look back in his villains retrospective videos, which are really cool videos to watch. Yeah, it would make sense if Coach were a demon. I mean, that face he makes. I mean, that. Hmm. I'm assuming those donkeys that's pulling the carriage were kids themselves. Yeah, but it all comes with a price, kid. As you're about to find out the hard way. A little off topic, but I remember hearing somewhere that I don't know if you ever watched the show Ruby, but you know the Rooster Teeth series. Wasn't Roman Torchwick like based on Lampwick? At least I heard somewhere about that. Yeah. Again, like I said, the villains in this movie don't get any punishment. I mean, I guess the coachman does, but that's not till like that video game, like for the Nintendo, I think it was. Well, I guess better the nose than the eyes. I mean, if you're gonna poke someone, I know they didn't put those in the remake. So basically, I guess their version of Minecraft. I don't know. Well, like in Minecraft, you build stuff, but I guess you can destroy stuff there too. I mean, See, Pinocchio is enjoying doing bad things without realizing the consequences, something that the remake completely doesn't understand. Well, you can't expect Disney to say get away with a word like jackass nowadays. I mean, then again, a lot of sorry, just lay back a little. My knees are starting to hurt from sitting like that. But yeah, I heard they replaced the beer with root beer, and what's even more weird is how, if you look carefully, when in the scene where Pinocchio and Lampwick are in the boat, if you watch closely, when Lampwick drinks the root beer, is it me or did they CGI the root beer? Because if they did, because it didn't look like he was drinking real, root beer. So if that's the case, why not just call it beer at that point? I mean, obviously you're not gonna have the kid actors drink actual beer, so like I don't know. It's just one of those long list of random changes that I have to question them. Don't do drugs, kids. Drugs are bad. Or however that goes in South Park. Now my question is how, I mean, I know I shouldn't question this in a cartoon, but how does Pinocchio have tear ducts if he's made of wood? Yeah, I'm aware of that. Which, like, wasn't the whole, if I remember correctly in this version, the reason why he only collects boys and not girls is this was set during a time when, you know, boys were more rambunctious troublemaking than girls. I can't remember how they worded it, but it was the beetle. As a kid, I didn't understand why he. Oh, that's racist. Calling Jiminy a grasshopper. As I was saying, as a kid, I didn't understand why Jim was mad for him playing pool because I used to own a pool table as a kid. But later on, I didn't realize that this was back in the days when playing pool was seen as like a gambling game or something. So, violent little turd, isn't he? Yeah, I guess I don't know how he understands Jiminy. I guess because you think Jim. Who knows? I mean, the blue fairy makes sense because he's like mystical and all that. So, oh, you're not going to answer to that, Jiminy. I know this is something YMS brought up when he and his buddies were watching the remake, but in the remake, when they have the scene where his minions are ripping the clothes off the donkeys, because it's so poorly lit, you can barely see anything. The sound effect they use, it sounds like they're ripping their skin off. Yeah, what does he plan to do with the donkeys that can still talk? I don't think we want to know. If they made a, how they seem to be obsessed with taking IP. Yeah, the scariest scene in the movie. Yeah, you know, how some studios are obsessed with taking these classic stories and making horror aspects of it. Like those Winnie the Pooh horror films. Imagine they did that with Pinocchio. That would actually make a lot more sense if they made a horror parody of Pinocchio. It would, because it technically already is like a horror story, especially this part. Yeah, this is the scene that traumatized a lot. I mean, I would say it traumatized me, but I don't know. Maybe I guess I was built different back then. I mean, it did freak it. It did kind of get on my skin a little, but call that beetle. Okay, that scene alone is just, yeah. This scene is still pretty messed up. Called Pinocchio's Revenge. Yeah, I figured there had to be a parody somewhere. I guess one thing the remake kind of does a little better than this is they give Pinocchio a wooden ears and a wooden tail, which makes a lot of sense. Something that I understand this film was also very ahead of its time was how it animates water. Like, it's something I guess the animators at the time really had a difficult time with, but they did a pretty phenomenal job with. I mean, it gets the message across of why you shouldn't be bad because it will have consequences when you do things that when you go against your parents or go against you know the rules. That's what happens. And how long have they been gone for just to form cobwebs like that? Yeah, what was that the blue phrase said earlier that she couldn't help him again? He's in the belly of the whale. I just can't help but think of that Newsboys song. Yeah, maybe it's like in the Odyssey when Odysseus is like stuck on that one island with all those women, but it feels like days, but it's actually been years. Speaking of which, looking forward to Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. That is going to be amazing. Oh, so you are a life bait. Okay, I guess it was very far. Can't imagine the amount of time it must take to animate all these bubbles, especially a time before computers. Well, it's the ocean, so of course it's going to be big. Avalon and gargoyles. Every hour spent one day goes by in the real world. I need to rewatch Gargoyles. It's been a while since I've seen that show. Maybe after I'm done with Avatar: The Airbender, we could go to that show. Maybe we'll see. Depends how much time I have between after I'm done with this set of watch alongs before October. Because once October hits, I want to focus on horror theme like movies and shows. Yeah, I guess these fish never seen a little wooden boy underwater. Then again, I guess this would have been a time before submarine, so maybe they just never seen people in general before during this time period. Well, of course, it's scary. You're talking with finding an apex predator. Yeah, I did do that fight for Ace McKeelface Figaro versus Cyanam. That was the first fight that I ever made that got used in any of the tournaments. I just figured at the time if Ace was to include as many Disney characters as possible, I just figured it'd be an idea to use those minor characters. All right, and there's Monstro. Even though real sperm whales don't sleep like that, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, do that thing where they sleep like vertical. I think I could be wrong, unless I'm thinking of a different animal. Also, real sperm whales only have teeth in their lower jaw. They don't have teeth in their upper jaw, unless monster of some freak of nature, which I guess he is, because even by sperm whales, he's huge. Uh, I mean, when you have a huge amount of characters to work with in these tournaments, it can be easy to overlook some. At least with my series, I did try to showcase everyone that's been in, at the end, or at least try to. Which I'm still getting people to ask regarding round 2 of part 2, which I've been meaning to get back to that for a while. I mean, I've got some progress done, but not as much as I would like to. That's because Monster is hungry. It takes a lot of fish to feed a giant whale. I don't. It's been forever since I've been to Disneyland, and I haven't. I don't think I've been on. So I haven't been on either of those rides. The only thing I remember from Disneyland is going through Animal Kingdom and going to the Haunted Mansion and the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Yeah, I got to get in your stomach. Surprised Cleo didn't spell out the bow with all the way the bow was rocking. Whoop! Surprise! Yeah, I remember. I mean, I never played Kingdom Hearts, but I know in the first game, yeah, you can be inside Monstro because I had a cousin who played Kingdom Hearts, and I remember seeing him play the level, and also have seen the playthroughs on YouTube. So we need to make him have indigestion. I think mad is is an understatement. The seagulls are getting sucked in. Again, the water animation in this looks incredible. Again, for 1940, it's amazing what they were able to do. Well, yeah, he's mad you burned the inside of his mouth. He just reacts like any animal would. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. How do we go from the way the structure of this story is, like how we go from Pinocchio and in a theater, then to a fair pretending to be a a child trafficking ring pretending to be a fair, and now they're out in the middle of the ocean battling a whale. It's kind of a weird structure when you think about it. Also, I gotta give credit. The sounds they give Monstro is pretty intense. It's probably a good thing they don't give Monstro the sonar killing abilities that real sperm whales have, since they can use their sonar to stun their prey. So that's probably a good thing. Yeah, this whole climax is really intense. And again, I know the remake nerfed this climax like a ton. Like, instead of having Pinocchio struggle to haul his father back to shore, they just have him be like Dash from The Incredibles. It's like, it's stupid. Not what I'm wondering. Did that kill Monstro, or did it just give him a massive migraine? I mean, the thing with those animal villains, like I'm assuming you're referring to the T-Rex from Fantasia. I mean, they are still predator. Maybe they are villains from the perspective of the animals that are being hunted, but and I guess the bear, you mean the bear from the Fox and the Hound. I guess the board could kind of, I don't know. They're all seen as villains from the perspective of the heroes. It's just that but from those predators' perspective, they're just doing what comes natural. So and we have a dead child lying in the water. Yep, finally a real boy. And even then, you still have to worry about all the other stuff the life has to offer. But yeah, Monster's definitely gonna have a headache if he wakes up from that concussion. Yes, you did. And Jiminy got what he wanted. Yeah, I know in the remake, it's not a real boy, or either that or they left it to your imagination whether he did or not. It's dumb. The end. A Walt Disney production. So, yep, another really great classic. I mean, I don't know if I call it. Now, I remember Time Out when they did an article of the top 100 greatest animated films. They had Pinocchio at number one. I don't know if I'd go that far. Like, I don't think it's like top tier or top 20 or whatever best, but in terms of what it did, in terms of its animation, the production, it's still really good. It's for me, it's like a 9 out of 10. So it's another great classic. So um, excuse me, another from the Disney Vault. So yeah, hopefully y'all enjoy that. I know we really only had one person here, so thank you, Anthony, once again for attending another Disney watch along. I'm gonna take a probably half-hour break before we start the next watch along, which will be David Lynch's The Elephant Man. Hopefully, I'll have more people join that one than they did Eraserhead, which I think more people will enjoy Elephant Man more because if I remember correctly, that movie had more of a straightforward narrative and wasn't so off on guard. So yeah. So hope y'all enjoy this. If you aren't able to make it, again, the whole video will be available for you to watch on your own spare time. So yeah. And with that said, I will see y'all in the next stream then. So take care. Usually they become classes when they get released to VHS. Yeah, of course, that was back in the days when they did do VHS. So there's that. So anyway, once again, I will catch you on the next stream.